Hello everybody and welcome to Favorite Cricket on Favorite Sports. And today, India and Australia just put on the best, probably the best advertisement for the importance and the value that Test match cricket still has within the modern game. A sensational game where India, thanks to a phenomenal knock by Rishabh Pant, managed to win the series 2-1 after winning the game by 3 wickets with 3 overs left to go on the 5th day of the final test. And how amazing is that? In what was supposed to be, 20 days of cricket, 4 tests, that it all came down to literally the last 3 overs, the last half an hour. You've got 20 potential days of cricket, and the entire series came down to the last half an hour. And that is what Test cricket is all about. And if you look at this test as a whole and as the series, it really has been exactly what we've needed, just to remind us exactly what Test cricket is all about. We saw the Ben Stokes performance against Australia last year or the year before, which sort of highlighted how amazing Test cricket can be. And this is another one. And this is what we keep saying. With everyone that keeps saying that Test cricket is dying and the players can no longer play for 5 days, and these sort of the old tests are all gone. This was another reminder that that is not the case, and that there still is the capacity for top-tier Test match cricket. And if you look at the series, from the first match in Adelaide, where India were bowled out for 36 in their second innings, as Australia absolutely thumped them by 8 wickets, to responding to their own 8-wicket victory in Melbourne in the Boxing Day test, where Australia batting just sort of didn't really come to scratch. We then saw an amazing performance by India in the third test in Sydney, where they battled it out to force draw on the last day, which kind of like, it was one of those draws which felt like a victory, and Australia, despite drawing it, felt like a loss. And that's what Test cricket is all about. It's so difficult to be able to explain to someone how a draw can be a fantastic result, how it can be so watchable, how you can sit there on a 5th day of a test and watch every ball, eagerly to see, can they draw? And it sounds like a very strange concept, but that is what Test cricket is about. No other sport in the world can you sort of sit there and think a draw can be such a good result, or can be such a bad result, And then in this test, this was just a classic test match where runs, and you can't really it's one of those tests. A lot of people criticize Australia and say Australia probably should have won, but it was just such a good test that it's just one of those things where the better side won literally on the day. Because if you go look at the test as a whole, we go right to the back of the beginning of the test, and Australia batted first. And what was interesting about this is that in a test where we had over sort of 1,200 runs scored, it was only one century across the entire test, and that was Marnus Labuschagne in the first innings. So if you look at the first innings, Marnus Labuschagne 108, Steve Smith 36, Matthew Wade 45, Cameron Green 47, Tim Payne 50, and then some very important contributions towards the end by Mitchell Starc and Nathan Lyon with 20, 24, and Josh Hazlewood even with an 11. So a first innings total of 369 was about par. At the end of the day, Brisbane is a batting surface, but it's also, no team has won in Brisbane against Australia for like over 50 years, So it was like, can India draw this? That was kind of, before the game, it was all about, is that the best they could hope for, to try and draw the game, draw the series, And in reply, India put in a relatively good performance where they didn't get up to 369, but thanks to a 44 from Rohit Sharma, 25 from Pujara off 94 balls, he'll just sit there all day. 37 from Rahane, 38 from Agarwal, and then a very good 62 from Washington Sundar on debut, as well as Shardul Thakur, which was very important. They got up to 336. In reply, again, a decent batting performance by Australia, who finished on 294. The run score was there. Stephen Smith got a 50, David Warner got 48, Marcus Harris 38, Marnus Labuschagne 25, Cameron Green 37, so another good contribution from him. Tim Payne 27, and Pat Cummins with 28 not out. Another reasonable contribution by Nathan Lyon with 13. He's quite good at just sort of adding a little bit of extra. And then, it was a test that was kind of set up for, it was pretty much set up for Australia victory. It was going to be a very big ask for India to try and chase down 328, in sort of day 4 or 5. But Shubman Gill put in a masterclass of performance with a 91 of 146 balls, strike rate of 62, and somebody who's copped quite a lot of criticism, especially I think it was Ricky Ponting was going after Pujara, because he was just saying you cannot bat that slowly. Well, his 56 of 211 balls is probably one of the bigger reasons why they lost, because the whole point was India needs to try and take this test as deep as possible. Take it right to the end and see where they are. Try and fight for the draw. Maybe they could be in a position. So 56 of 211 balls, a strike rate of 26 is painfully slow. But that rock-hard defense allows the other players to sort of, he's just the anchor, and he was a perfect sort of foil for Shubman Gill, who was a bit more aggressive and had a strike rate over 50. And then it was just an absolute masterclass from Rishabh Pant, who was very well backed up by Washington Sundar. But, Pant finished on 89 by 138, a strike rate of 64, 9 fours and 1 6. But the Australian bowlers just didn't know what to do, because when they tried to drop it short, they went after it, and they just got their lengths a little bit wrong. But credit to it, because you could see Pant was very defensive and was sort of pushing to try and take the game deep. And then there was one sort of over, I think it was sort of a 92nd over around there, where there was a bit of a switch in momentum, and you could see they suddenly went for, I think it was Nathan Lyon, went for 15 in one of the overs. And that was a turning point. And suddenly, what was a draw suddenly looked like they could have won, and they then kept on going on, kept after that. And with 3 overs to go, Rishabh Pant managed to get his side over the line in what was an incredible test match, which has rocked the world of cricket. Everybody just talking about that this is what cricket's all about. And it really is. Player of the series was Pat Cummins, played very well over the entire match. But it's just, how amazing is it that a series which started on the 17th of December, more than a month later, the entire series came down to like the last 5-6 overs. It was, that's sensational. And that is where you just cannot try and equate Test cricket with T20 cricket. You can't. You can't think of a match which runs over 5 days and it comes down to that final sort of session. And even when they went into the session, the match was still in the balance. So a terrific match, a terrific demonstration of what Test cricket is all about. And then if you look at some of the big performance over the series, Marnus Labuschagne top scorer with 426, Steve Smith with 313, and then Rishabh Pant with 274. Pat Cummins finished with 21 wickets, Josh Hazell with 17, Mohammad Siraj with 13. So it's a very good individual performance. The big thing about this, first of all, for India, is I wonder if this sort of marks a bit of momentum. There's been a lot of calls to drop Virat Kohli as captain and let somebody else take over. And what we saw there from Ajinkya Rahane was a masterclass, really. To go and get the series win, largely without Virat Kohli, is a huge statement about the depth and the talent in India, and that they've all these youngsters that come through, and they take to Test cricket like a duck in the water. It was very, very interesting to see, and I think this is why I reckon we're going to see India start to establish themselves as the dominant Test side in the world. This series showed a lot, because when you got Pat Cummins, you got Josh Hazlewood, Mitch Starc. They are some of the best Test bowlers in the world, and yet India managed to go and chase down a score 328 in a fourth innings, on day 5. It takes a lot of guts, it takes a lot of talent, and it takes a lot of patience. And so credit to them. And this is what all Test cricket is all about. And all we can, as South African fans, is hope that when we kick off our series against Pakistan next week, in our 2-Test series, we can start to see similar cricket. There's a lot of lessons you can learn. Someone like Pujara, you have that patience to be able to take it so deep. We've seen things like that from AB de Villiers and Faf du Plessis all those years ago in Australia. But do we have players that can do it? Do we have players who can go out and last to try and save a Test match, to try and save a series? These are the small things that, a very young South African side needs to start learning quite quickly if they want to re-establish themselves as a top Test side. Let me know what you thought of the game down in the comments below. Smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. Lots of in the coverage coming up for the South Africa-Pakistan series. We'll be doing live watch-alongs for the entire T20 series, which should be a lot of fun, so we can get a lot of comments in and have a lot of chats about it. And then obviously we'll be having day-by-day reviews of the 2 tests themselves. So make sure you keep it locked on Forever Sports. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you soon.